Between 2010 and 2019, the volume of SUVs in operation worldwide grew nearly sixfold to 200 million units. And last year, they surpassed 50% of market share for the first time.
But most people driving these things aren't using them for the sport utility as the name suggests.
It's soccer moms, families, city dwellers, and as you may have noticed, business owners who can't live without their SUVs. Yep, if you live in the suburbs, you probably know an accountant, real estate agent, consultant, or property manager who's cruising around in a massive, three-row, full-size luxury SUV. Why? Well, it's actually the result of fine print gone wrong and it's costing the government billions.
My investigation uncovers some big moments, figures, and most importantly, key decisions that set the SUV up to become a huge headache. All right, in 1958, the Eisenhower recession was hitting pretty hard. High interest rates, reduced consumer demand, and a decline in industrial production led to massive unemployment rates. America needed a way to boost the economy and encourage growth, so Congress introduced this as a potential solution. Section 179 of the Internal Revenue Code. It focused on additional first-year depreciation allowance for small businesses.
It's a write-off for them.
How is it a write-off?
They just write it off.
You don't even know what a write-off is.
Let me explain. Say you're a small business owner who just purchased 19 new commercial mixers for your bakery. Congratulations, by the way. 1950s baked goods must have been delicious. Before 1958, you deduct a fraction of the total cost over multiple years until it added up to the complete purchase price. Under Section 179, you can immediately deduct the entire expense in a single year. This allowed businesses to write off certain capital assets such as equipment, machinery, and business-use vehicles right away. The deduction was designed to incentivize small businesses to invest in new equipment, which would in turn stimulate economic activity. The government set the original deduction limit at $10,000. Fast forward to 1981 and the economy is in another recession. In order to help,
President Reagan today signed into law his tax and spending cut bills. He called it the beginning of, quote, a turnaround of almost half a century, marking the end of a course we've been on of excessive growth, excessive bureaucracy, and excessive taxing.
This represents $750 billion in tax cuts over the next 5 years.
This very small piece of Reagan's plan initiated a gradual increase in the deduction limit for Section 179. But by 1984, Congress was worrying about how these bigger deductions were being used. So it passed the Tax Reform Act of 1984, tightening up what could qualify for Section 179. The new provisions limited the amount of cost recovery deductions for passenger automobiles. Essentially, any four-wheeled vehicle for highway use with a gross weight of 6,000 pounds or less was considered a passenger automobile and now faced stricter limitations. However, all vehicles over 6,000 pounds were exempt from those limitations. According to a scholarly study from Duke University, Congress assumed that anyone choosing a vehicle over 3 tons was doing it purely for business reasons because, quote, no one would derive personal consumption benefits from such a behemoth.
You sure about that? You sure about that? That's why?
From the sands of the Persian Gulf to the showrooms of America, the most serious 4x4 on Earth, the new American legend, Hummer.
Weighing in at just over 6,000 pounds, the 1992 Hummer H1 set the precedent. Its high cost and heavy weight turned the Hummer into a symbol of the tax reform's unintended consequences. Section 179 became unofficially dubbed the Hummer Loophole. In 2003, the Jobs and Growth Tax Relief Reconciliation Act further boosted the Section 179 deduction limit.
We have taken aggressive action to strengthen the foundation of our economy.
Businesses could now deduct up to $100,000 in qualifying expenses.
After the deduction limit was expanded, dealerships quickly began promoting Section 179, aka the SUV loophole. They started running ads, sales. Even to this day, many car dealerships promote Section 179 on their websites, all with the goal of educating the customer.
We have vehicles that are going to be over 6,000 pounds for you to go and take advantage of Section 179, such as Ford, Ram, Chevrolet, Silverado. We got your back.
Some small business owners have actually admitted that the tax breaks motivated them to buy SUVs over smaller vehicles. Okay, just how pervasive is this? All right, full transparency on this one. I reached out for more recent data. I didn't hear back, but these numbers should give you a pretty clear idea on how widespread this was. Data from the Department of Treasury shows that Section 179 was widely used by business owners between 2002 and 2014. According to Taxpayers for Common Sense, as of 2003, the loophole has cost the federal government between $840 million and $986 million yearly. This loophole not only continues the exploitation that the 1984 amendment aimed to stop, but it also limits the options of those who actually need SUVs for their businesses. These are a collection of cars that are under 6,000 pounds. Many of these are work vehicles used by blue-collar workers. They transport your flowers, deliver your food, and keep your business running. But since they weigh less than 6,000 pounds, they don't qualify for the same level of tax deduction. As if this were some weird reverse Robin Hood world where we take from the poor and give to the rich, the intended beneficiaries of Section 179 can't use it for the smaller vehicles they need and often can't afford the larger vehicles that qualify for bigger deductions. Larger SUVs and trucks are also
more likely than cars to hit pedestrians while making turns.
They also may eventually end Earth.
If SUVs were a country, they would be the world's 5th largest CO2 emitter, following Russia, India, US, and China.
The Section 179 loophole incentivizes buying these behemoths, but what about the people inside them?
Some business owners are frustrated by the assumption that they just buy expensive things to deduct them.
Sure, yes, you can deduct a business SUV, but it isn't the full price. Plus, you need to use it for business over 50% of the time. So it's not necessarily a free ride or a giveaway. The friction, tension, and inequity that came from Section 179 was clearly unintended. So were there efforts to correct it? Despite several attempts like the Markey Amendment and the SUV Business Tax Loophole Closure Act, Congress hasn't managed to pass any bills to completely close the loophole. In 2004, they did try to address it with the American Jobs Creation Act, successfully capping the deduction for SUVs at $25,000. As of 2024, the limit is $30,500. And guess what? Over 90 SUVs now meet the weight requirement to exploit this loophole. And they're only getting bigger, especially as EVs with super heavy batteries become more common. So for now, it's business as usual. If you like this story, let me know down below. And if you want to learn more, subscribe to the Hustle YouTube channel for the latest business news.